Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYrefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. And make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well...
4! That's a fine shot. Oh! I should have yelled 2!
We know where you live. Check out Trump's new ad.
Please welcome President Ronald Reagan, who has a few questions for you.
All of you will go to the polls, will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? If you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice.
This explains why Kamala Harris's handlers do not want her to do interviews. Watch how she answers this question about what would happen to race relations if Donald Trump got elected and ended DEI.
On a different front, Axios this week reported that President Trump, if he gets a second term, will sort of dial back, for lack of a better term, DEI programs that the Biden administration has put in forth. I know you disagree with that. I obviously believe that you don't want him to get a second term. That said, if that does happen, what do you think that would do to race relations in this country?
Well, let me say we're going to win, so it's not going to happen. But I think that, listen, today is actually, I believe, an anniversary in terms of Dr. King, right? And I was just in Selma, and we acknowledged the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. I think it's really important that we as Americans always embrace our history, the parts that we're proud of and the parts that we're not proud of, but that we can't forget. And we should all agree that we should teach history, we should learn history if we're to ever have an accurate idea of where we want to go and where we don't want to go in the future. And that means also acknowledging the importance of diversity. It means acknowledging the importance of the fact that everyone should have equal opportunity to compete and equity. And then, of course, inclusion, that, hey, let's look around the room and see who's not here, and did we leave the door open?
Just look around the room and see who isn't there?
Harry?
Hi, folks. Do you trust this economy? What if you could receive a strong fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? And what if you were in control? You could turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. What if your interest was compounded daily, you were paid monthly, and there were absolutely no fees? And what if you could have peace of mind because there was no attack on your principal if you ever needed your money back? Well, folks, there is an investment with all of these features. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return with Yrefy, and they don't care about what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And best of all, they receive their statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST. That's 877-80-INVEST. Or log on to investyrefy.com. That's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. And this is Kamala Harris's economic advisor defending her plan to tax unrealized gains.
Unrealized gains, taxing unrealized gains just doesn't seem fair in any sense of the word. In the very best sense, if you are taxing unrealized gains, all you're doing is pulling forward the taxes that would be paid later when someone actually sells the stock.
I think that this reaction to unrealized gains is a little funny, given that I bet that the majority of people watching right now are already paying a tax on unrealized gains. It's called a property tax. When the value of your home goes up,
that's an old. It's a use tax.
When the value of your home goes up, you pay higher taxes, even if you don't sell your home.
Your value of your home never moves the way a stock moves, the way something else moves.
That's always the go-to answer.
It's also, property tax is a use tax. You're paying for the schools. You're paying for emergency services. Those are things that make absolute sense.
And sure, and all the revenue that comes in from these unrealized gains taxes and the other taxes in the Harris plan are going to go to creating what she calls more opportunity. It's to make sure that every newborn born in this country gets $6,000.
Using the services.
Well, look, you're arguing that this is some sort of foreign concept that's completely unknown in the U.S. tax code. It's
probably unconstitutional. It's probably, and it was never in anyone's intent to tax.
It's not an income tax,
and it's never going to happen. Probably. Not in, well, I'm not going to say my lifetime.
I wouldn't say that.
Not in Becky's lifetime. Yeah.
During the 2008 presidential campaign, Barack Obama, according to a book called Game Change, said, "How many times is Joe Biden going to say something stupid?" This explains why Obama, after becoming his party's nominee, did not do his first interview with his running mate. But Kamala Harris needed Tim Walz by her side when, as her party's nominee, she gave her first sit-down media interview. It was pre-taped. Was it uncut? Yikes!
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work.
Really?
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
Going forward. All right. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote. that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
That was bad.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
Tim Walz to the rescue.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
Biden's at the White House going, ugh, gee.
Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about... Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Is it too late to bring back Biden?
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that.
Can I phone a friend?
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Madam Vice President, Governor Walz.
That answer was perfect.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. Thank you.
Did you know there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent? That's right. There is a massive amount of money that the lame duck administration is pushing hard to spend in their last few months. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge just like during COVID. And I'm sure you remember the terrible effects that high prices had on most Americans. But there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge for your savings in uncertain times. To see how to protect your IRA or 401k, get your free info kit on gold by visiting Yrefy.com. Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait for the president's spending spree to tank the dollar further. Protect your financial future right now. Visit Yrefy.com for your free info kit from Birch Gold. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg now admits, I was wrong to cave to government pressure to suppress dissent over the COVID vaccine, mandates, and lockdowns. And, now I regret censoring the accurate Hunter Biden laptop story. This did not age well.
You still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation and a smear campaign, like you said?
Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse.
This also did not age well.
Mr. Zuckerberg, does Facebook consider itself a neutral public forum?
Senator, we consider ourselves to be a platform for all ideas.
Let me ask the question again. Does Facebook consider itself to be a neutral public forum? And representatives of your company have given conflicting answers on this. Are you a First Amendment speaker expressing your views, or are you a neutral public forum allowing everyone to speak?
Senator, here's how we think about this. I don't believe that there is certain content that clearly we do not allow, right? Hate speech, terrorist content, nudity, anything that makes people feel unsafe in the community. From that perspective, that's why we generally try to refer to what we do as a platform for all ideas.
Let me try, just because the time is constrained. It's just a simple question. The predicate for Section 230 immunity under the CDA is that you are a neutral public forum. Do you consider yourself a neutral public forum, or are you engaged in political speech, which is your right under the First Amendment?
Well, Senator, our goal is certainly not to engage in political speech. I'm not that familiar with the specific legal language of the law that you speak to, so I would need to follow up with you on that. I'm just trying to lay out how broadly I think about this.
Mark Zuckerberg writes, in 2021, senior officials of the Biden administration, including those from the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 related content, including humor and satire, and expressed significant frustration when we did not meet their demands. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. On that point, a few minutes ago, a White House official told us when confronted with a deadly pandemic, this administration encouraged responsible actions to protect public health and safety. Our position has been clear and consistent. We believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they present. And that's not all. Zuckerberg is also writing about Hunter Biden censorship. He says, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while we were waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation, and in retrospect, we should not have demoted the story. I asked President Biden about this. At the time, his team was apparently trying to censor this Hunter content.
No, Zuckerberg, you don't deserve a cookie for doing something you shouldn't have done. What you did was called election interference. Now, Alejandro Mayorkas denied under oath that he was pressuring social media companies to censor certain content.
That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what you're doing. Your own quadrennial review, which was just reported in the press, says that disinformation is going to be the new focus at DHS. The Quad Review says that DHS plans to target, I'm quoting now, inaccurate information domestically on a wide array of subjects, including, quoting, the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, racial justice, U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, and the nature of U.S. support for Ukraine. A federal judge has just found as a finding of fact, Mr. Secretary, that your office, and I'm going to quote now, is supervising the nerve center of federally directed censorship. Here's another email, August 20th, 2021. Facebook writes again to HHS and highlights that Facebook is increasing the strength of our demotions for COVID and vaccine-related content. April 16th, 2021, Rob Flaherty at the White House circulates a Zoom meeting invitation to Twitter employees stating White House staff will be briefed by Twitter on vaccine misinformation. We have example after example of this administration coordinated, apparently, according to a federal court, by your agency, pressuring, coercing social media companies to engage in censorship. Is that constitutional?
That is unequivocally false.
Is what the emails show.
It is unequivocally false, Senator.
You are not pressuring the big tech companies to take down accounts. You are not meeting with them to ask them to censor on your behalf.
That is correct. We are not.
Mr. Secretary, it has been established for years in this country, as you very well know because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
It's also false.
This didn't age very well either. Joe Scarborough, history will not be kind to those who believe the Hunter Biden story was accurate.
History will expose you all as fools and useful idiots for the Russians. It's for 4 years now. For 4 years now, there has been a line from Russian agents into the campaign. It's unbelievable how stupid you think Americans are. How stupid you think Americans are. For you can just say Russian hoax. Seriously, it's the idiocy, the sheer idiocy. You are revealed right now, but you will be revealed throughout history for basically running cover for Russians.
Hey, Zuckerberg, if you're truly remorseful about your anti-Trump 2020 election interfering censorship and the money you gave election officials to get out the Democrat vote, will you donate the same amount, $419.5 million, to a Trump 2024 super PAC, asking for a friend who wants to return to the White House?
We have numerous policy priorities, and that includes my bill, the End Zuckerbucks Act, which would prevent 501c3s from providing funding to state and local elections. In the 2020 election, Mark Zuckerberg, the famous Facebook CEO, under the guise of an organization called the Center for Tech and Civic Life, a left-wing nonprofit group flooded left-leaning county governments in Texas, Ohio, Nevada, Minnesota, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, Wisconsin, and even my own state of New York, Pennsylvania, with opaque private funding to influence election administration for their own purposes. And let me just stress, I heard some of the ranking member and other Democrats refer to this as, helping out with this horrible pandemic election. Well, the facts are that in 2020, Governor Cuomo was the governor of New York. They changed election law over 100 times during the pandemic election, and not once did they increase funding or assist the local governments in trying to administer elections. And this is what caused so many of the problems, not just in New York, but throughout the country. And CTCL, or the Center for Tech and Civic Life, uses this money as a leverage over these cash-strapped election agencies, forcing them into advancing its own partisan agenda. And when the chairman talks about hundreds of millions, it was $419 million from Zuckerberg that was flooded to field under the guise of making voting safer amid the pandemic. Yet here's the rub. 1% of those funds were spent on PPE. Just 1%. 92% went to left-leaning districts that were aiming to actually try to sway the election.
And let's remember, Kamala Harris says she is the last person in the room whenever Biden makes a big decision, and says that's exactly what happened regarding the decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
You just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
CBS's Margaret Brennan reminds this Kamala Harris surrogate that Harris owns Afghanistan, and even told the surrogate that he once said so. He did.
I want to ask you about Afghanistan, because in your call for Joe Biden to step aside, you also pointed to that as a Biden-Harris problem. In fact, you said it was a strategic and a moral failure, that withdrawal. The vice president says she was that last person in the room on that decision. Is that failure also hers?
We've got to stop assigning partisan blame on fundamental things like our national security.
Let's see. 13 service members killed, $7 billion in military equipment left behind, hundreds of Americans and Afghan collaborators stranded. Threw the military under the bus by saying that nobody advised him that if we pulled out abruptly, the Afghan government would collapse and the Taliban would return. Biden did not inform our allies. It emboldened enemies like Hamas, Putin, and China. And Kamala Harris admits that she was down with the decision, one of the greatest military blunders in American history. And then there's the inflation.
The American people, they don't read Aristotle every day. They just get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes and try to do the right thing by their children and maybe save a little money for retirement. But they're really being hurt. Now, why? Because President Biden has spent money like it was pond water. It started with the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act. He has spent trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, money that we had to borrow. Now, unless you were playing Frisbee in the quad during Econ 101, you know, whether you're Milton Friedman or John Maynard Keynes, that when you spend this kind of money, you're going to have inflation.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. Now, this dude is mocking these delegates at the DNC in Chicago, and they had no idea.
Would you rather have a democracy or access to abortions?
Either or. I feel like that's a very tough question to answer. I feel like that's almost not possible to answer. I feel like I couldn't pick one or the other.
Even if you had to choose?
I had to choose.
Can we get a final answer? I know it's hard.
I guess access to abortions.
It's Brat Summer. The queen of the brats has arrived. Yes, queen.
Do not come.
Are you as I am right now? She's something special. Can we please, this year, it'd be so brat, have a higher tax rate for rich white men?
Well, if we have a Democratic Congress, we certainly will.
Yeah, baby. Tax those rich old whiteys. Come on. Are you worried Donald Trump's going to weaponize the justice system if he gets in power?
I'm concerned about Project 2025.
Yeah.
And it's important that individuals understand that Project 2025 basically consolidates power in the hands of one dangerous man.
Yeah.
And so it's really critically
Start
important.
prosecuting his political enemies.
Exactly.
Guys, I have to say, you are even more beautiful in person.
Oh, I love him. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Give me your best pickup line.
My best pickup line, I'll pay.
Who are the cuties in the Democratic Party that are speaking?
Ugh, I don't know. Talk to anyone who lives in D.C. It's hard to find a cute Democrat.
Oh my God, shots fired.
No, that's the tea. Ask anyone who lives in D.C. and who works in Democratic politics. It's hard to find the cute ones.
The Republican guys are hotter?
Yeah, but they're evil. So, I don't know.
We kind of love evil. Oh my God.
I feel like
You are so bad. It's time to call the red carpet the blue carpet because the conservatives have literally no cool famous people. What do you eat after a long day at Congress? Did you get your vasectomy yet?
No, I'm not doing
Oh, it's
it.
going to be a wild weekend, baby. Tim Walz has the best shot in Congress. Who has the best? One final game. Yes, queen or no queen. Okay.
I'll give you a yes or no. How about that?
Okay.
Amazing.
Can you do yes, queen or no queen? Or?
I can't do that. I can't
Oh,
do
really?
that.
Free abortions.
Yes, queen.
Free gender-affirming care for migrants.
Yes, queen.
Child tax credits for dogs.
Yes, queen.
Ban standardized testing.
Yes, queen.
Oh, yeah, my ADD is so crazy. Get rid of those things, please.
Yes, queen. Yeah.
Amazing. Different tax rate for white men.
Yes, queen.
Amen, sister. Love you. Love her energy. She's a yes queener. My girlfriend needs to get an abortion. Could you help me cover it up? Please? I need help. I need to do it discreet way. Oh. Romeo, wherefore out there, Romeo?
Sorry.
Romeo, wherefore out there, Romeo? Who do you think has a bigger lightsaber, Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
I mean, come on. Really?
And what's the best way a guy could approach you?
Approach me, I guess, with a microphone and a seersucker suit, a microphone, and my daughter.
Could I be a good stepdad? So some Gen Z doubters of Kamala have noted her record persecuting people for weed. I'm a stoner. I use it for PTSD. Do you think that era is so over? She's so over that?
I think that even in the period of the Biden-Harris administration, they have been working very hard in order to say no.
What about Coke and stuff?
Excuse me?
What about Coke?
And her, I would have to look at it, but
Decriminalize the drugs, baby.
Thank you, sir.
Coke for the boys.
Thank you.
Another old white guy, am I right? Is Kamala so us?
She's so us because she's brat. Kamala is brat.
She is so brat. What does brat mean?
Brat is like, you're like a party girl, but like you go out at really late at night and like you fall asleep with all your makeup on. And
I mean, I have to love Kamala being in a menage a trois at one point.
Brat summer.
Get the best Kamala laugh ever.
Oh my God, she has the best laugh.
Joy. We love joy. We're all about joy.
Go, Kamala.
Okay, how do we guarantee equity of joy?
Equity of joy will flow forth from Kamala. It's just a given and part of her.
We are manifesting.
It's coming to
people
you.
say vibes don't matter, but we are manifesting our nation.
It to you.
Oh,
we love you. Oh.
We have a woman of color, and we also have Tim Walz. What a great example for the body positive community. What do you think Tim Walz can be as an inspiration for body positive people?
A young man came to him and said, we want to have a gay club here at our high school.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to lead that because I need to be
He's like
supportive.
a gay leader.
Don't cry, she's here.
It's happiness.
Suddenly, when it comes to the border, Kamala Harris is Dirty Harry.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border.
How true it is.
Everyday prices are too high. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes. That is called Bidenomics. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's not much left at the end of the month. Bidenomics is working. The price of housing has gone up. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
This dude has cashews.
Who was the better president? Doesn't matter.
No, I'm sorry. Trump didn't commit a war crime.
At least Trump knows what he's doing, unlike Biden. Biden doesn't even know what day it is of the week. Trump's not locked up. You know who's in jail? Biden's son. At least Trump's sons are successful.
You got Trizzy on?
Oh, what?
Trump? You got Trump on?
It says Trump, not Trizzy. It says Trump.
If you call her Kamala, I'm going to call that Trizzy.
Drake's Drizzy, so Trump's Trizzy. That means Trump's the GOAT. Well, you said Trizzy, not Tricky. You voting for Trump this fall?
What do you think?
Yes, because you want America to be great again. Oh, yeah, let me guess. It's nice to fill up your car and it costs $60. It's great. You're irrelevant. Get back on your phone. Okay, little puppy, keep walking. You heard me. I'm so irrelevant, but you're paying so much attention to me. Hey, could I get a Let's Go Trump 2024? Why?
I'm undecided. You can try to convince me.
I don't even have to. I'll let you walk in there and you'll leave right as Kamala opens her ignorant mouth. I mean, she just gets drunk and stands behind the podium and jabbers a bunch of nonsense. Are you guys voting for Trump? Polite thing to do is respond when someone asks you a question. Yes or no answer. That's what I thought.
Well, I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I'm just saying, let's make America great again. Vote for Trump. You listening or are you playing on your phone?
trying to record you. You are in trouble.
Kamala just stands up there saying a bunch of nonsense.
Her name is Kamala.
Well, I don't give a shit anyways.
She's VP.
I don't care. I don't even care.
Watch her kick his ass on September 10th.
Oh, I'm so scared of her. Nah.
You should be.
I'm not scared of her. I'm not scared of her. You guys tried to take out Trump and failed. How does that feel? Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Only thing more embarrassing is your haircut. I hope they were handing those posters out for free. That's embarrassing. If you don't believe in freedom of speech, then don't tell me to shut up.
America's already great.
Oh, yeah. How's filling up your car at the gas station? So great, right?
Trump wants us back in slavery.
What'd you say?
Trump wants us back in slavery.
That's just some BS nonsense you hear on your news station. Anyone got one reason I should vote for Harris? Same, because I don't have one either. Smart man, bringing his headphones in so he doesn't have to listen to Kamala Harris ramble about some BS he doesn't care about.
You're in the danger zone, buddy.
Danger zone? You guys are soft.
Here's somebody else with cashews. Brandon Strzok, the former liberal, was arrested for January 6th. He was at the Capitol building on the other end where there was no violence. He filmed a little bit of what he saw, posted it, And then, knock on the door, the FBI. He is arrested, he's charged, ultimately settles his case by admitting to crimes he did not commit. Why? Could not continue to afford the lawyers. He set up a legal defense fund to which I made a contribution. He used to be, as I said, on the left. Here's his summary of what's at stake right now in our country.
The left is no longer simply intolerant, inflexible, illogical, un-American, and misinformed. In the last 6 years, they have devolved into malicious, corrupt, perverse, sadistic, ruthless, oppressive, and borderline authoritarian behavior and rhetoric. Liberalism has been devoured by leftism, and leftism is just hatred and destruction marketed as virtue. In an effort to destabilize and divide our society, the left has waged a war on reality, chipping away at our common perception of what is true and what is false. They'll accuse you of doing everything that they do and being everything that they are. They'll say that you're in a cult while they bow down in unison and worship their false idols. They'll say that you're violent while they burn America to the ground, that you're lawless while they defund the police and release dangerous repeat offenders into society. They'll say that you're the Nazi while they lead anti-Semitic tirades from coast to coast, that you're the fascist while they weaponize the federal government against their political opponents, that you are un-American while they burn our flag, kneel for our anthem, and rip our Constitution to shreds. You are a racist, and if you don't acknowledge your racism and inherent bigotry, that's proof that what they say about you is true. In the left's reality, there's no such thing as gender, yet gender identity is the most important thing in the world. The Democrats have a powerful ally in their war on reality: the mainstream media, an institution that could once be trusted to hold power accountable. The media is now overwhelmingly leftist and overwhelmingly pro-government, running nonstop interference to protect the establishment. That's why so many people believe every lie, every hoax, every false narrative, every piece of fiction the establishment supporting media creates and echoes. Because the left knows if they repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. Stand up, tell every truth, blow every whistle, sound every alarm, never shut up, never back down. Speak out now while you still can. This is our last chance to save America. Because once your freedom is gone, it's gone, and you'll never get it back. Once upon a time, I was a liberal, but liberalism is destroying us. So I will stand and fight for my values of unity, equal opportunity, personal empowerment, compassion, freedom, and love. So I continue to walk away, and I encourage all of you to do the same. Join us, unite, share your stories, walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away. Walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away. Walk away.
Walk away. Walk away.
Walk away. Walk away.
Walk away.
Walk away. Walk away. Walk away.
So, what's the takeaway from the DNC?
When I first got into politics, I thought that Democrats were the party of the people. And at the DNC this week, I felt like I was in a building with the most elite and out-of-touch people in the entire world. It very much felt like, let's just have a huge party and forget all of our problems because the vibes are brat. When I was there, I didn't feel any connection to real America or the place that I come from, which is the Midwest, Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri. I didn't feel any connection to the people that I know right now who are struggling to buy their groceries or to pay their rent. The people who want to know what both candidates are going to do to materially affect change in their lives. And when I was there listening to the speeches, I felt myself feeling mad because I didn't hear anything about the economy. Definitely not in Kamala's speech, and not very much in the others as well. Instead, I heard generic platitudes, things like joy and respect and integrity, and what does that even mean? Let's make the military the most lethal in the world? I thought I was part of the anti-war party. I thought I was part of the party that fought for the underdog, that championed working people. When and how did we just become the party of academia and affluence? Because that's what we are right now.
Where's the beef?
And President Trump is going to draw a sharp contrast with Kamala Harris,
who has supported things like decriminalizing illegal immigration or giving taxpayer-funded health insurance to illegal aliens or taking away health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, banning gas cars, confiscating firearms. These are all
what do you
positions
mean
that-
taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now. She
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no
She
longer
has not said
supports
that. She has not said
Medicare
that.
for all.
She has not said that. Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that, but the last thing that she said
But
on
this was
most
not
of
a
these
radical convention. I mean, she as you heard me go through with Bernie Sanders, she is not taking the positions of the far left of her party. She's clearly making an effort to move to the middle.
I did hear what you said to Senator Sanders, and I thought it was clear that he's very disappointed that she's taking these efforts not to change her positions, but to hide her positions, John. The American people are totally justified to conclude that Kamala Harris is a dangerous San Francisco liberal based on what she campaigned on the last time she ran for president and what this administration has done for the last 4 years. Again, you would have thought watching the Democratic convention last week that the Democrats are not in office, that they're not in power, that they're campaigning against an incumbent Republican, when in reality, she's been part of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. And when she campaigned for president, in her own right, she did in fact promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration and taking away health insurance.
But that's his position she's clearly changed on, and she has said she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she has not. John,
Awkward.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. The Prime Minister of Argentina explains just how to deal with leftards.
Al zurdo de mierda no le podés dar ni un milímetro.
Pero ¿me podés definir zurdo de mierda? Que no
Todos
lo
los que,
entiendo.
digamos, los colectivistas, los que ponen, digamos, o sea, esa idea... A ver,
¿Por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una o sea,
vos mezclás,
si, no,
pero
pero es que si pensás,
pero
si pensás distinto te van a aniquilar. Ese es el punto. Es decir, vos al zurdo no le podés dar un milímetro, porque le das un milímetro y lo toma para destrozarte. Es decir, digamos, o sea, vos no podés negociar con el zurdo. No se negocia. No se negocia con esa mierda, no se negocia porque te van a llevar puesto. Si tienen un golpeador que trompadas a la mujer, digamos, si es de ellos, ¿entendés? Se pone el pañuelito verde y grita todo el tiempo contra el neoliberalismo, lo ocultan. ¿Me entendés? O sea, si de repente hay alguien que acosó a un periodista que acosa a otra periodista, lo ocultan. Es decir, a todos los de ellos lo ocultan. Todas esas aberraciones la ocultan. Ahora, si vos estás del otro lado, a vos te van a estropear, te van a matar, te van a dar con lo que sea. No les importa arruinarte la vida. ¿Por qué? Porque no pensás como ellos. Y ¿sabes qué es lo bueno de todo esto? Hay algo bueno en todo esto. Porque como el error es humano, como todos nos podemos equivocar, ¿sabes qué nos obligan? Nos obligan a ser mejores. Y como estamos siendo tan mejores que ellos, como los estamos aplastando en la batalla cultural, los estamos pasando de arriba, porque no solo le ganamos en lo productivo, somos superiores moralmente, somos superiores estéticamente, somos mejores en todo. Y les duele, les duele. Entonces, como no pueden pelear con las herramientas legítimas, se apalancan en el aparato represivo del Estado, poniendo torres de guita para hacernos... Y aún así no pueden, tuvieron que bajar la nota, ¿Me entendés? Que están perdiendo. Están desesperados, están perdiendo la batalla cultural. Los zurdos de por primera vez se ven acorralados. Los zurdos de...
At the Chicago DNC, Tim Walz said,
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
Even Trump-hating Jon Stewart could smell the hypocrisy.
They had a guy yelling, "Screw the billionaires," followed immediately by a very happy billionaire. It's all okay if it's our billionaire. They had guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale. The Democrats had people who prosecuted sexual predators and... There goes that booking.
Let's see. Bill Clinton, Yale, 73. Hillary Clinton, Yale, 73. Barack Obama, Columbia, 83. Harvard, 91. Michelle Obama, Princeton, 85. Harvard, 88. Now the left, media, academia, Hollywood, big tech, social media dismiss it when Trump complains about the direction of the country. But this is Robert F. Kennedy on the biased, irresponsible media.
But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks expose themselves as Democratic Party organs. Your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American democracy, but you could have prevented it.
It's one thing for Trump to complain about the weaponization of federal agencies like the DOJ, but this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
How did the Democratic Party choose a candidate that has never done an interview or debate during the entire election cycle? We know the answers. They did it by weaponizing the government agencies. They did it by abandoning democracy. They did it by suing the opposition and by disenfranchising American voters. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a US president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression, and that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest.
It's one thing for Donald Trump to complain about censorship, but this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The Democratic Party's censorship of social media was even more of a naked exercise of executive power. This week, a federal judge, Terry Doty, upheld my injunction against President Biden, calling the White House's censorship project, quote, the most egregious violation of the First Amendment in the history of the United States of America. President Biden and his White House opened up a portal and then invited the CIA, the FBI, CISA, which is a censorship agency, it's the center of the censorship industrial complex, DHS, the IRS, and other agencies to censor me and other political dissidents on social media. The DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There, in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days.
On how the Democrat Party ran a sham primary and blocked him from running as a Democrat, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
In the name of saving democracy, the Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself. Each time that our volunteers turned in those towering boxes of signatures needed to get on the ballot, the DNC dragged us into court, state after state, attempting to erase their work and to subvert the will of the voters who had signed those petitions. It deployed DNC-aligned judges to throw me and other candidates off the ballot and to throw President Trump in jail. It ran a sham primary that was rigged to prevent any serious challenge to President Biden. Then, when a predictably bungled debate performance precipitated the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate.
On how the Democrat Party used to be the party of free speech, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles, and it's joined this systemic attack on democracy. It also, the media justifies their censorship on the grounds of combating misinformation, but governments and oppressors don't censor lies. They don't fear lies. They fear the truth, and that's what they censor. And are we living up, are we really still a role model for democracy in this country? Or have we made it, a kind of a joke?
And on why RFK Jr. is throwing his support to Donald Trump?
Judging by her bellicose, belligerent speech last night in Chicago, we can assume that President Harris will be an enthusiastic advocate for this and other neocon military adventures. And President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign. Last summer, it looked like no candidate was willing to negotiate a quick end to the Ukraine war, to tackle chronic disease epidemic, to protect free speech, our constitutional freedoms, to clean corporate influence out of our government, or to defy the neocons and their agenda of endless military adventurism. But now one of the two candidates has adopted these issues as his own, to the point where he has asked to enlist me in his administration. I'm speaking, of course, of Donald Trump.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with two others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. The choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Democrats okay Kamala Harris's insane Marxist price controls by denying that they're insane Marxist price controls.
Well, she's got to maintain the spirit and energy, which has carried her for several weeks successfully. I think she's got Trump on the run at this point. We've still got to win this election, and we've got the momentum.
What do you think of the price gouging ban that you put out there? Republicans are saying they're price controls. What would be your answer to that?
No, they're not price controls. But take a look at the profit margins in the major food categories.
What would be your take?
I think what Kamala's trying to say, and what she has said basically, is how do we deal with the issues of inflation, and how do we keep food prices down? We've made great progress on inflation. It's come down under 3%. You know, it's up at 9%. We've done very well. So we just got to watch, and she wants to make sure that people are not price gouging and hurting the average citizen who's trying to buy beer, I'm Irish, milk, bread, eggs, all that. See, right? I'm going back to my Irish roots, man. I got the Irish media next to you.
Yeah, it's not price controls. I mean, actually, it was a Republican idea. Wage and price controls goes back to Richard Nixon. This is not that. This would be similar to what many of us pursued during the COVID when the oil and gas industry was spiking gas prices despite the fact that the barrel price hadn't changed. So it's when there's this sort of unfair advantage due to a concentration of supply or some other supply chain disruption, or just because they can get away with it because there's no competition, to go after those folks who are taking advantage of working people. So the details, obviously, I'd like to see more, but I think there's certainly a need for us to take that on.
There's also been some criticisms of you. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg this evening spoke tonight. He took aim at one of your past comments from 2021, that Americans that don't have children have, quote, no physical commitment to the future of this country, unquote. I want you to take a listen and get your reaction.
You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you, our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
What's your response?
Well, my response, Jake, is that Pete Buttigieg has taken a sarcastic remark that I made 3 years ago and turned it into something to distract from the fact that his leadership has seen higher transportation costs, higher fuel costs, and higher food prices for American citizens all over our country. These guys act so focused on a sarcastic quip that I made that they ignore the fact that under Kamala Harris's leadership, Americans can't afford the basic necessities of a good life in this country. And so I appreciate that Pete Buttigieg pretends to be offended by what I said. I think Pete should be offended by the fact that under his leadership as Secretary of Transportation, the government took in $8 billion to build 7 electric vehicle charging facilities at a time when Americans are paying 45% more for the gas that transports them to work. That's what we should be focused on, and that's what we should be talking about. And it illustrates, Jake, my entire criticism of the Democratic approach here is they're focused on fake issues instead of the real record. And the real record is that Kamala Harris has made this country poorer. Donald Trump made the middle class richer, and he caused a lot of peace and prosperity to break out in this country and all over the world. It's a very simple contrast, and I wish the Democrats would focus on the issues.
So a price controller walks into a bar and says, drinks are on you.
It's not good policy, and it could actually do more harm than good. And I can paint you a picture of how that would work and how it's worked in the past, where we've tried to artificially hold prices down. Competition doesn't come in. People don't, like if beef is too high, people don't move to chicken. The competitors don't come in to undercut where the beef prices are. Nothing works when you try to artificially control prices. It's just a supply and demand issue. It's a flawed idea.
So did you have a question here?
Yes. Why would you propose a flawed idea when the real problem,
so let me
if you
ask
really
you
want to
question.
help the middle class, if you really sincerely want to help people having trouble at the grocery store, it's not price gouging that's the issue. And if you look at it seriously and really want to help them, then let's do something about it.
The pro-Democrat media helped us spread the lie that Beyonce was going to appear at the DNC. The DNC, of course, knew she wasn't coming, but allowed these toadies in the media to spread the rumor anyway to jack up the ratings.
There are rumors that Beyonce might make an appearance. I personally think that that's true, but we shall see.
There are, oh, we're going to say this now. Can I say this?
Well, wait, let's couch it in rumors and rumblings.
Okay, let's just say, so, I mean, that's out there, the Beyonce talk.
You have to stay tuned, but I have it on really good word. The Beehive is buzzing right now because the preparation for the Beehive, it has to start early. Sources come from backstage. That's all I'll tell you.
Okay.
TMZ and The Hill reporting that she will indeed be making a surprise performance on stage here.
Congressman was just dancing along, and he's excited that he's hearing rumors, which a donor confirmed to me that she's also hearing that Beyonce is en route. President of all things music and fashion and style, i.e. Beyonce, is going to show up. Queen Bey.
Surprise guest tonight. Beyonce?
I know Beyonce's got to be in town, right? My gosh, is that what we're in for? A Beyonce show tonight?
There are rumors that Beyonce may be there this evening.
We may see Beyonce.
Is the United Center going to be turning into the Beehive tonight? Earlier today, we spoke with Christy George, the executive director of the DNC host committee.
Holding out hope for Beyonce.
Is that going to happen?
I don't know, but
Everybody's
that's what I
whispering
want.
about it around here. I know. I thought you would have the insider tip on that.
I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. They're keeping it very close to the vest.
Of course, like everyone else, we're hoping that Beyonce makes an appearance.
There could be a surprise performance from Beyonce.
Is that a Beyonce song playing right now? And is that telling us something possibly? Breaking news. Breaking Beyonce news. The rumor has it Beyonce may be performing. Someone's doing a warm-up with her song. I'm just saying, Rachel, two pretty powerful black women up on the stage together. We'll see if we get Beyonce. And Beyonce or no Beyonce?
I'm guessing she's here.
We're hearing rumors about Beyonce. I tried to get Senator Booker to give me the tea on that, but he just played coy.
Beyonce comes out, I just may lose my cool just a little bit.
Come out, wherever you are.
About black men supporting Donald Trump. Maxine Kerosene Waters says black men support Donald Trump because he pardoned some of those like Lil Wayne.
Yes. They see him as a baller, shot caller type of guy, and they look up to that part of him.
That's only a small segment. You're talking about more the hip-hop segment of the black males that they talk about, maybe, talking about supporting Trump. It's not a huge number. Some of those, of course, Trump has pardoned some of those who have been in prison, like Lil Wayne. And I say to people, look, if you're in prison and somebody pardons you, say thank you. And I don't know what all else went into that. But after you say thank you and do whatever it is you do to appreciate pardons, then you say, but I've got to say goodbye. I've got to be with the people who understand what is necessary for everybody to have a decent quality of life.
Now, to what exactly is Maxine Waters referring?
More breaking news tonight, and it's practically the definition of news when the unexpected happens. The Senate tonight taking bipartisan action on something substantial, overwhelmingly passing a major prison reform bill. The First Step Act eases federal sentencing for nonviolent offenders, aims to reduce repeat offending, and expands early release programs. The vote was 87-12. All the votes against the bill were by Republicans, but many Republicans voted for it. Those who voted against complained the reforms were too lenient and could allow dangerous criminals back into society prematurely. The bill was backed by the White House and negotiated with the help of Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor. The House is expected to take up the bill on Thursday.
How significant do you think this is? By the way, one of your partners in working on this was Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner, whose father went to prison and who fought on this as hard as that. This is history. This is history. Right now, you're witnessing history on the floor of the U.S. Senate. There's a Christmas miracle underway where, for the first time in a generation, Republicans and Democrats are arm in arm tonight saying, we are sending too many people to prison. They're coming out bitter and not better. We want to make a tremendous difference. I want to say Hakeem Jeffries on the left, Jared Kushner, and Donald Trump on the right have brought together a coalition like I've never seen.
So suddenly this was a bad thing? And isn't it pretty condescending to say this is why so many black men support Trump? They're all felons And Don Lemon says black men are supporting Donald Trump because he gave them stimulus checks.
Certainly eye-opening to hear so many people, even people of color and women, saying that they are going to support Donald Trump. I'm not quite sure that the polls are accurate as it relates to the tightening of the polls and who's going to support whom. And, you know, right-wing media, you know, when I released my content, they said, oh, Don Lemon was shocked or Don Lemon was surprised at the answers that he got. But there were a lot of black men, Jen, who said that they were supporting Donald Trump simply because he gave them a stimulus check. He gave them $1,200 back when he was president. They did not somehow remember that the current president also gave them a stimulus check, except that his name wasn't on it. So I had to remind them time after time that the check did not come from Donald Trump, that it came from a Democratic Congress, and he actually slowed it up in order to have his name on the check. So when they got the check and his name was on it, they automatically thought that it came directly from Donald Trump.
Now, if both Trump and Biden gave stimulus checks, then why are black men supporting Trump? Maybe, just maybe, it's not about the stimulus checks or about Lil Wayne. Isn't that a little condescending? Dare I say, racist? A Real Clear Markets article said, Bank of America needs to come clean about debanking practices. It wrote, and I'm quoting, more victims of Bank of America's debanking regime have come forward, including Timothy II Project International and constitutional scholar John Eastman, a friend of mine, both debanked under similar circumstances by the nation's second largest bank. The bank's lack of transparency about cancellations that suspiciously look like they are based on viewpoint is why shareholders sought a report assessing whether the bank's policies and practices pose a risk of politicized debanking. Old Glory Bank will never debank any law-abiding customer. Our mission is the Constitution. Open an account at oldglorybank.com, and when you get your debit card in the mail, activate it, and you'll get a copy of my latest book, As Goes California, at a 50% discount. oldglorybank.com, that's oldglorybank.com. They used to be called the Central Park Five. Now they're called the Exonerated Five, one of whom actually holds elective office. And at the DNC, he pushed the lie that he and the others were unjustly found guilty and that Donald Trump is a racist for calling them thugs who deserved the death penalty.
As my friend Corey Wise just said, 45 wanted us unalive. He wanted us dead. Today we are exonerated because the actual perpetrator confessed and DNA proved it. That guy says he still stands by the original guilty verdict. He dismisses the scientific evidence rather than admit he was wrong. He has never changed, and he never will.
One small problem, they were guilty. Whether they deserve the death penalty is debatable, but what is not debatable is that they were in fact guilty. There have been two movies or documentaries, one by Ken Burns and one by Ava DuVernay. The Burns documentary and the DuVernay movie are both full of lies. The two lead prosecutors stand by their conviction, and the lead NYPD investigator, a black man, by the way, stands by his investigation. Now, neither Burns nor DuVernay spoke to that investigator. I did.
Ken Burns, I can never watch anything that he's produced anymore with any amount of confidence that he's telling the truth, that this is an honest portrayal of what's happened.
Now, Detective, you were there that night. Did you and your partner arrest the people that became the Central Park Five, all five of them?
What happened was we were looking for the group of teenagers who were wilding, who were rioting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's the best way to describe it. They were rioting in the park. We came upon 20 to 30 of them after they had assaulted the teacher, John Laughlin, and beat him so badly that both of his eye sockets were shattered and his skull was cracked. He wasn't even able to identify who it was that beat him because he couldn't see. His head looked like it was dunked in a bucket of blood. Wow. We captured 5 of the 30 that we observed, because the group, of course, started running when we went to apprehend them.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the 5 were Kevin Richardson and Raymond Santana, part of the Central Park 5.
Mm-hmm.
And just so that you understand, as we observed the group, we watched Raymond Santana with Stephen Lopez leading the group. I could see them turning around and addressing them almost as though they were leading the pack, and as they were walking uptown, up Central Park West.
Mm-hmm.
Once we arrested them, you have to understand something. We arrested them before the jogger was even found. The jogger was still in a ravine. She was by herself in a ditch by a stream, basically dying. Ken Burns himself said that he made the documentary for one reason, and that was to force the city to pay the lawsuit, to pay the Central Park 5 money, and that's it. That's why he would not show the city the outtakes from the filming that he did, because he didn't want people to see the contradictions. He didn't want people to see the lies. He didn't want people to see that they were clearly involved in the attack on Patricia Miley,
mm-hmm.
a.k.a. the Central Park jogger. All you have to do is watch the videos. Watch the videos in their entirety. There's a website called CentralPark5JoggerAttackers.com. They have the videos there. Watch them all. Look to see if they get their rights read to them. Their rights are read right to them at the beginning. Their parents are there. They're not being kept from going to the bathroom or any of the nonsense that you've been fed by Ken Burns, Sarah Burns, and Ava DuVernay.
Not only were the Burns and DuVernay films full of lies, but they are lies that divide the country racially over a false narrative. Who benefits? And why is this a good thing? Now, Sylvester Turner is a candidate to succeed the late Texas Representative Sheila Jackson Lee.
And thank you, Reverend Allen. And I will tell you that the Congresswoman has a very strong legacy. I mean, she was active on the Hill, but she was even more active on the ground in the 18th Congressional District. There was a moment people thought, could Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee follow effectively in the shoes of Barbara Jordan and Mick Leland and Craig Washington? Well, she's answered that time and time again. She seemed like could be everywhere and meet the needs of people in her district. She knew them by name, and they knew her. They saw her on the ground. If you needed help, whether you were in her district or not, she was responsive to their needs. So you can't replace a Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. You can only hope to follow her, carry out her legacy, and continue to do the work.
And what a legacy it is. Just ask Jerome.
You took a piece of paper from that woman regarding something that was over at Duncantail. Where is it? What date was it?
All from yes. Jerome took it upstairs. I'd have to call him. He took it up when I switched out the paper. I'll call him as soon as you get here.
I don't want you to do a damn thing. I want you to have a brain. I want you to have read it. I want you to say, Congresswoman, it was such and such date. That's what I want. That's the kind of staff that I want to have. So some stupid other motherfucker did it, and I don't have the information. Nobody sent me the information. I need to ensure my schedule. And, if Boo-Boo did it, did it, Face did it, and nobody knows a damn thing in my office, okay? Nothing. I gave it to you. Your job was to get it on the calendar, imprint it in your brain, or send me the information back saying, Congresswoman, I made sure that the Ovi Duncantail event that you gave me for so-and-so date at 7 is on the calendar, not to, Jerome has it, okay? So when I called Jerome, he's going to be sitting up there like a fat, stupid idiot talking about what he doesn't know, okay? Both of y'all are up F. It's the worst I could have ever had put together. Two damn big children. Idiots. Serve no damn purpose. Ain't managing nobody. Nobody's respecting them. Nobody gives a about what you're doing. And you ain't doing it. And this is an example of it. I gave it to Jerome. This is not child's work.
Okay.
Hey, anybody can have a bad day, right, Jerome? And finally, this is not the designated driver.
All right, calm down. There it is. Damn it, Chug. Are you kidding me, bro? You're too old for this. All right, breathe. Breathe. Stop it. Breathe. Get your head up.
Sometimes you just has to dance. And last but not least, a shout out to my Aunt Maggie in Cleveland, Ohio, 94 years young. Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. Speak freely and message privately. And download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also want to thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and Birch Gold. And make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are currently using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. And be sure to patronize our sponsors. And remember, we've got a country to save.
We had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Next question, please.